versus that.
Yeah, okay.
I think it helps you get along better.
game.
Right?
Right.
Sometimes
We get along so well, and sometimes you're extreme right, I'm extreme left, I'm liberal, you're a conservative, and yet we get along so well. That's marvelous, wonderful.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Amazing grace.
So today,
Saved a wretch.
like you. So today, what we're going to do.
That's good. Come on, talk to me. Get in that microphone.
What we're going to do is trying to give you a little example of
Give me an example of
this versus that thing.
Would he have said,
didn't want
come
to
on,
know.
Hillary, vote for me, baby?
No.
No.
I
wasn't
don't
doing
know. I don't know about that. Assalamu alaikum.
That's too funny. I mean, come on. Making fun of my long hair.
No, seriously, not making fun of it.
Okay.
We were watching the
Having
intro and his hair short, and and I just said, as opposed to that, this versus that.
Okay.
But see, I got this kind of doing weird stuff. I mean, you just can't really help what your hair does sometimes.
No, I tell you what, my hair is just out. As your mom would say, it's out and about.
No, oot and a boot.
Oot and a boot.
Oot and a boot.
She's good.
She is.
Okay. I'm waiting on you. Take it away.
Well, first of all, this quote by Bette Davis.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. Let's just peel back this onion right here.
Okay, when a man gives his opinion, he's a man. Let me repeat that, okay? When a man gives his opinion, he's a man. When a woman gives her opinion, she's a bitch. Now, I didn't say that. Bette Davis did. I mean, call her up if you can.
Oh, I hope not, Lord.
I like that song. Call him up. Call him up. I mean, that rocks.
I don't know that one. Because
Oh, come on.
we weren't into all that hooping and hollering in
Okay.
church.
Okay. You never did get involved in a
I was a
Jericho
Baptist.
march
No.
or a Jericho run all the way around.
No, you know,
Slain
the
in
Baptists
spirit,
were
speaking
more
in
the
tongues.
intellectual of the segment
true.
of Protestantism.
I'm not arguing for intellectualism.
I'm not either. I can't. But I can't argue for my opinion. So, now Bette Davis said that, but surely she is saying that men think, probably people think that, you know, when a man gives his opinion, oh, by God, he's a man, it carries some weight, let's listen to it. But when a woman just tries to give her opinion, she's just being a bitch, a real bitch.
When a man loves a woman, I've heard that song somewhere. Okay?
Yeah, that's pretty.
If a man truly loves, let's say, a woman,
What is-
I mean, is he going to refer to her as a bitch if she does have an opinion?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, come on,
Okay.
talk to me. Let's do the ball thought experiment for a minute. It's fuzzy.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Let's just talk about. Let's talk about in the workplace. Just you know, it's getting better and better, and but I remember times in my early work history. Obviously, I would be one to give an opinion, and I tried not to give too many opinions if I didn't think they were, because I don't like people. Well, I shouldn't say that, but sometimes people just want to say something, and so my dad calls that a snark. Like if you're in a classroom and you ask a question that's like, you know, Captain Obvious, you know, why are you asking that question? You're just asking a question to have your voice heard in the room. Anyway, I never wanted to do that, so when I did speak, I thought, you know, it should carry some weightiness to it. Mm-hmm. But when you're, you know, 3 women out of, you know, 25 men, you sometimes get lost in the shuffle. And if you try to press your opinion and make sure that it's heard, you're definitely going to get called a bitch. Back then, I would say.
Well,
because I have been called a bitch.
Okay. More coffee? Yeah, I need a chocolate donut, possibly. I don't know.
Diana, what do you think?
I think Dr. Jones better watch those donuts, but you know, it's strange. I have noticed some of that through my transition. where
Someone
people-
called you a bitch?
Oh, I've been called a bitch many times, and I own it. I love it.
You're glad somebody can call you a bitch now. I can see that. Yeah.
It's
She says,
really
"I own
something that I've noticed that some people will take me less seriously now than they did when I was trying to do the boy thing.
Yes.
And that could only, I haven't thought of any other explanations than my gender.
Right. Yeah.
The whole mansplaining thing is another one. I mean, I could go into Lowe's and pick up whatever I wanted and ask a question or two, and everything was okay. But then I come in, excuse me for half a second,
Sure.
do a little cough there. Now I'll come in and ask about something, and they see this, and it's a whole condescending thing, as if I don't know anything of what I'm talking about. And I have the same knowledge and skills I did, 15 years ago.
Yeah. See, then you have to play dumb. I've got to teach you a few things. When you go in there, you just play real stupid. Like, I just don't even know what. And then everybody helps you. And then you just don't have to go look for it. See, we do bad things as women, Diana. But you know that. I don't have to tell you that.
I've done a few bad things.
There's Daryl. I saw
Hi,
Daryl.
Daryl.
That's it.
Okay, Daryl, I've got to fill you in. Phil. Okay, here it is. We're talking about Bette Davis. That is what she said. And she said years ago, she's not alive. We can't call her up and ask her what she meant by this, but we're simply looking at what she published, perhaps. When a man gives his opinion, he's a man. When a woman gives her opinion, she's a bitch. What say you?
Oh.
Sounds terrible. Doesn't sound like something I agree with.
Did you used to agree with it?
Back when you were a fundy, Daryl, did you say, yeah, that's
You're handing him
true?
a shovel.
I just thought she was stepping out of line. I didn't think that made her a bitch.
Okay, turn the camera toward Tina. We want to see
Daryl was
Tina's-
afraid he'd go to hell if he said bitch.
My wife's opinion is she does not want to be on camera, and I respect that.
I do too.
I get that. I just
She
wanted to see how she was reacting
She's
to that.
gorgeous, and I know that's the only reason you need to be on camera, but because she's smart, gorgeous, kind, she's everything. The world needs her.
Or if they see her,
Yeah, she's my queen.
mine too.
What a fight over her.
I think Daryl takes precedence, doesn't he?
No, over this, yes.
I get to honor her every day.
Yes. Yes, exactly right. She is his queen.
If I can state just a couple of things concerning this statement, I get what she said. And I think it has a lot to do with, statements that are made every day. Everyone has an opinion. And I think that we need to look at it this way. We have people who have opinions. They can be well-informed opinions, or they can be uninformed opinion, disinformed, etc. And so that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, just like if you have two different families, if you come from family A has, let's say, a norm, and therefore their opinions are going to be based upon this norm. If you have another family over here, they have a norm, it's different than that norm, and so their opinions are somewhat shaped by this norm over here. And so that's true not just with families, but that's true with genders in a sense, because, you have all of these guys getting together to go play baseball together and football together, and they go fishing together. And so when you have a social construct that it, in a sense, excludes, the opposite sex, you build these paradigms, if you will, these norms. And so, what you're talking about here is if those people over there don't understand, it's just like one family talking about another family. Those people over there, they don't get it, ha, ha, ha. And so it becomes a lot of, just joking and joking and joking. And so I think if we look at it through the eyes of that construct, I think this is why we have a lot of men who are bigoted. They speak down to women simply because they haven't grown up yet. They haven't realized that there is a lot more to life than what they've seen, and they haven't seen very much. And so I think it has everything to do with maturity. And this has to do with that circle of discourse that I keep talking about. And this is why I think that having a conversation, especially with your family, if you want your family to mature and grow and be functional instead of dysfunctional, this is why birds push, their children out of the nest so they can grow and expand and see the world, and how other people fly and how they do things. And so
Yeah, that's just some birds. Some birds, they never.
I get that.
Okay, but
I'm simply using that as a model.
oh, sure, it's a very limited model, but it was pretty good. But you know what, women, we are very, and I'm just going to own this. We talk bad about men. I know y'all didn't believe that. Y'all can't just possibly believe us, but we don't talk. I don't know if I could only. I can't let all the women's secrets out.
Okay, say some of the things that are stated.
Yes, some information is privileged.
That's right, Diana. But right. So we'll move on, and so I think what Bette Davis said. Look how old she would have been today.
Right.
So she obviously was a strong woman, I believe. I think, I'm just making this up right now, but I believe she was, and she probably got a lot of that, especially way back. And then, but the further we come down the timeline of history, we're going to see a lot of that fall away, thank God. And I'm excited about it, that our granddaughter, great-granddaughters, and, sons, blah, 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 won't have to face
True.
some of the hardships. So it's just, it's like, I just go back in biblical days. They were very, let's just say, uncivilized if you compare them to today. Wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, they had a model of civility, and it was, and the sad thing of it is, I think that in modernity, I think that we have a false view of where they were. Carefully studied, I think they had a better sense of moral movement
Possibly,
that is
yeah.
upward than what we have assessed in times past. For instance, I think the biblical translation models indicate that they thought poorly of those people in the past, and I think that better Reconstruction models present Jesus as a much better man than what we see in the King James Bible.
Right, but as opposed to the people in the Old Testament that, obviously slavery, the way they treated women, the way they treated. We've come a long way from that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's true, but as I stated the other day, when it comes to people in the Old Testament and their stories, we can't take these stories literal
Right.
because they were not intended to be literal. We're talking about a writing system which is an abjad, which is consonants alone without the vowels, and you throw the vowels at it, and so it becomes abstract art.
Okay.
I wrote something the other day that I think is very good for this discussion. I said, God is the abstraction of the idea by which people have to orient themselves to produce a functional society. In other words, they use God, Elohim, Yahweh, as a rhetorical device. That is, as a means to be able to work a social construct. And sometimes what we do is we author, create movies that are always not pleasant, but we do create the good and the bad and the ugly for purposes, namely of moving forward. It's pitiful. It's unmeasured. It's misinformation that gets out there to think that these people actually had this flood and had an ark and all of that. And only the fundies in both theism and atheism even think that way. And so if you're a theist and you think there was really a flood and the ark and all that, boy, you're talking about your opinion is not well informed. And so my point is, if these stories are told and we are using these, that is, as abstraction to make points, the poetry that we find within the text, it's not just the Bible, but it's throughout history, the making of law. We were going to discuss maybe a little bit about the Second Amendment. Look at the language there. I mean, it is not sufficient for,
That's an odd job.
2018. In a sense,
It
it
is.
is.
It's
And so it's
very
very
abstract.
ambiguous. It's been taken to court various times, and it depends on the hermeneutic that you use. The outcome is different, and so we have an argument. Should we, the people have a right? I mean, is this what is crafted in this document? Do we have a right to keep and bear arms? Is this talking about all people, and what does it mean, arms?
The bear is the part
Well,
that I'm interested in. Like, bear means like to show it, just like to,
Well,
bare your teeth, hold them, keep them.
But back in that day, bear had various usages, as I state often, as words have usage, not inherent meaning. Therefore, if we are going to render the Constitution, that is, historically, as what the authors intended,
That's
that's
the
one
problem.
narrative. But
Right.
that's not the hermeneutic for today, because it's very contemporaneous, and so people
Right, it's
are
a
trying.
living. They say it's a living document, which means it would be open to interpretation. Today, contemporary.
But that means that you're going to get into legal reasoning, which in a sense means that if you have Judge A, B, C, and D, all judges can make different renderings
Yeah,
based
that's-
upon the case that's being held. And this is
And let's be
where-
honest, they're lifelong held opinions about things. I mean, as much as you don't want to insert yourself into the ruling, I always wondered about this. That's got to be extremely hard, not for just the fine print, whatever, the dotting the I's, crossing the T's. That should be easy to do without your opinion. But this interpretation, it's got to be hard.
I mean, we have in my opinion, the best country on the planet, simply because we have put together a balance of power. We have put together something called the Supreme Court for a reason, because when, let's say, a law officer goes out, he doesn't have a right to interpret the law. That's what the Supreme Court does. And so his interpretation of the law doesn't mean anything. And so if you have an officer who goes out to carry out the function, the practice, whatever that is of law enforcement, he doesn't have a right to put his 2 cents into it. And so policy, let's say a sheriff is sending people out, that policy needs to be working in concert with what the Supreme Court has suggested, because they are the only ones who have privilege in this republic. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. They are the only ones who can determine what law means. Not
Well,
you, not me, but they do.
Well, they do stand in judgment there, but yet you have, say, whatever, 9 or whatever, you have a 5-4 ruling just about based on, conservative, liberal. It just falls that
Okay,
way.
the political spectrum is going to be, a 5-4 issue.
I know we're political species,
We
blah, blah,
are a
blah.
political species, and when it's like the argument that many atheists make so poorly. Religion has caused all these wars. That's really nonsense. Simply because when you look at a construct, let's say, of monkeys, and we've done this, we've seen this through the eyes of many scientists who have conducted studies, field studies with monkeys. Monkeys are, they have these territories, and so they have more wars than we do. And they're not religious. They don't have a Bible. They don't have a King James Version.
Look at our cats. I mean,
That's my point. My point is, anytime that you have a species and they're territorial,
right.
you're going to have wars. But
It's just
today
these
the spin
people,
is
yeah.
because people are trying to say, well, let's have freedom from religion, and we have that kind of crap going on here in the city of Pensacola, and these people are not articulate. That is to the study of why human beings do X, Y, and
You
Z.
talking about Andre?
I'm simply saying, Andre, I'm speaking
Buzz.
to you. You live here in
Buzz.
this city, and you're leading something that's very unmeasured. So
Moving
let's
on.
get off that.
Yeah, that's sorry. Daryl, did y'all watch the Roseanne show? I think she's been on for 3 episodes so far. The new. One.
No, I haven't seen that. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, we're going to bring up something that she, she's a writer, a producer, actor on the show. And this last week, what happened, she and her husband, Dan, they fell asleep on the couch in the story, as the story goes. And they woke up and they're like, like old people do, they try to watch something on TV. And I'm not saying like you and Tina, but say y'all are on the couch watching
Daryl,
something.
jump in.
Daryl, defend yourself.
What happens?
Bounce the ball, Daryl.
Yeah.
But this happened. So that what happened is they woke up and then one of them said, we slept through from the Wheel of Fortune. This is like ABC shows from the Wheel to Kimmel, I think. And then, what in the world? Okay. So then one of them said, we missed the blacks and the Asians because there are two shows, Blackish and Fresh Off the Boat in between that. And then Roseanne said, don't worry, they're, like newsflash, they're just like we are. And so people really were offended by that. And I tried to be offended by it. I tried and tried and tried. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe something's wrong with me. But I couldn't get offended by that. I thought it was inclusive. Don't worry about it. They're just like us. They're just like us.
Okay.
What's wrong with the including?
Well, think about this, and I think that some of these biblical writers were right, and I'm not trying to go back to the Bible, but it has some useful points.
Sure.
But, there's one writer who says, if you offend a person, that person's harder to win than a fenced city.
Right.
And so when you study, let's say, the psychology of offense, it's difficult to get anywhere. And this is why, some people, they live out their lives being the victim. And so if a person has ever been a victim of this or that, if they haven't learned how to let that go, and this is why the forgiveness narrative is so important in our lives, if they haven't learned how to let that go, they're going to read everything into it. I'm a victim again, again, and again, and again. And so Roseanne is very much a liberal, and yet she's capable of seeing the conservative side, and so she's
I like
in a
that.
sense pluralistic,
Yeah.
and so she's capable of saying, let's have various voices on the table at the same time, and so what's before us and after us, this is nice. And so in a pluralistic society in which she does advocate, she would think that that's fine to say. However, if you have people who have been playing the role of a victim, they typically will respond as a victim, and so that this is a troubling thing.
See, to me, that's more offensive than what Roseanne said.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying that it's tragic that we live in life. We live in a day and time in which people can't say something and be understood. People are taking sides instead of trying to understand. If people tried to understand what someone else was trying to say as much as they wanted to be understood, I think we would probably get along a lot better. Go ahead, Daryl.
Could it be that, my thought on that is possibly they were offended that they thought that they would, compared to Roseanne and her husband. I mean, no, we're not like that, in other words.
Yeah.
Like we're better than that, possibly,
Could be, or we're not as offensive. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should have.
See, I would have taken that, are blacks really equal to whites? Are they as good as whites? Well, that shouldn't be the issue, and maybe in many ways they're superior to whites
Sure.
in many respects. We can talk about equality, or we can talk about traits, or we can talk about value of the person. And that's where I think the equality comes in, you know. Am I as valuable as another ethnic or race or whatever? Are they as valuable as I am? And I would say yes to that, you know, that we each have an equal value as a human being. Do we have superior traits? Obviously, you know, there's many things that others can do that I can't do, and I appreciate what they do because you know, I can see the difference and I can appreciate that.
I think so too. I agree with that. Diana, what do you think? I mean, I don't know if you.
This whole offense taking thing is something I see almost on a daily basis in the atheist community. We're getting to the point where we're drawing battle lines, and you've got to take a side immediately upon some contentious thing appearing. For example, Lawrence Krauss,
Right.
or the way people look at Sam Harris, that sort of thing. And I'm getting to the point where I don't know that I can say anything, you know, because I don't know who I'm supposed to like, who I'm supposed to revile, and supposed to is in air quotes.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, a dear person, Seth Andrews in Oklahoma, he's got a little show called the Thinking Atheist. Some of the things he's said, the battle lines are being drawn, and I see him as a wonderful, wonderful person. But some people are taking his not coming out immediately in opposition to, let's say, Krauss,
Okay.
as a horrible thing, whereas might he not be waiting for a little bit more information,
Right.
until he can finally make a decision?
Sure. Right. And for, you know, I'm sure a lot of people know about the, you know, Lawrence Krauss is allegedly caught up in this, you know, how would you say it, Diana? I'll let you speak to that, as that's someone probably near and dear to your, you know, heart.
Yeah, I kind of like the things Krauss has said, scientifically, that sort of thing. And he's in the midst of sexual misbehavior allegations, let's say.
Right.
And immediately everybody had to take sides. Now, recently, there is a vlogger, I think they say that, video logger or something like that, by the name of Christina Rad, who did come out with her personal experience with Krauss. And, okay, that was enough information for me to accept that these things had a good probability of happening, but she also did not go for blood. I mean, she's not apologizing for Krauss, but she's also looking for different ways to explain how his behavior might be. And that came out rather late in the discussion. Battle lines had already been drawn. I don't know if her, have a second here.
Sure.
Oh my, there's a frog in my throat, or my throat got stuck in the clover, I don't know.
It's probably those 12 hours yesterday.
Yeah, but it's that whole thing that they had to have an opinion before this information came out.
Sure.
And it didn't come out for a couple of months.
Wow. That's the thing. Sometimes, you know, I go back and forth on this, on people's opinions. I say, great, say your opinion, even if people think it's stupid, even if it is stupid, even if it's, you know, obviously I don't like opinions that are racist and blah, blah, you know that.
Right.
But some people think that some people shouldn't even have an opinion about such a thing. I think anybody should be able to have an opinion about whatever. Just have a voice, and your opinion may stink, but you'll learn to, when you throw something out there and it's an opinion and people come after you because of that opinion, sometimes you learn to wait a minute, next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point right now where, as I said before, I'm afraid to say anything, and now just as my channels are getting spun up,
Right,
where,
exactly.
I'm doing a lot of saying on video.
Yeah, well, Betty Davis. Okay.
Emerson made a comment that I think that is very powerful in this conversation concerning, in my humble opinion, let me never fall into the vulgar mistake of dreaming that I am persecuted whenever I am contradicted. Many times, if you voice your opinion and you get a little bit of pushback, if you start feeling extremely uncomfortable, you've got to contact someone possibly that will help you, because this is what happens. I see this all the time in groups where someone wants to say something, but they can't handle,
Right. The
something
pushback.
that would say something differently, okay? You see that in family structure, you see that in groups, you see that in politics. And so, Donald Trump comes along and he says things differently. He doesn't speak like, let's say, a lawyer speaks. He speaks like a shock jock. And so people were very bigoted. That is, they could not handle that. And that would be the same thing. The same thing would happen if you had a Chris Rock who ran for president. If he came and, he took that comedy that he does and he took that approach to get votes. That's, the outcome of, the kind of bigotry that we have here in America, which I think is telling. It's sad. And I think that whether you like Donald Trump or not, I think that we need to learn how to be tolerant. In other words, we need to say, yeah, you can voice an opinion. I mean, I'll agree with you. I don't like it, but I'm not going to disparage the person.
Right.
And when that stops, I think that we start growing up. But we're not growing up right now. Everybody likes to jump on the person rather than the substance.
Well, when Roseanne went on a media tour, I think she was at the TV Critics Association, whatever. And of course, they started to barrage her with, Trump questions, because on our first and second shows, it came out, she is the Trump supporter. Her sister Jackie was, not the Trump supporter. And so she said a few things, but she likes the way that Trump promised to shake things up. And so that's what she said that led her to support him. And she also said that Trump has done a lot of good things for her over her career. He's helped her in a lot of ways and whatever. But this is one thing she said, and I'm going to, say a salty word. So here it comes. This is Roseanne speaking. She says, well, he says a lot of crazy shit. I'm not a Trump apologist. There are a lot of things he's done and said that I don't agree with in the same way. There are probably a lot of things that Hillary Clinton has done and said that you don't agree with. And so, obviously, I don't agree with probably, 50% of, that's just, high probably, of everything he says. But there are some things that I do like. And so that's why I voted for him. And so Roseanne's, to me, the telling thing is he says a lot of crazy shit. And he does. He says a lot of crazy stuff. But Roseanne's just catching some heat because now she's a Trump supporter. So, but she just wanted jobs to come back.
This is Roseanne Barr, the
Yes.
actress who
Yes.
is a Trump supporter rather than the show character.
Right.
Okay.
The actual actress, whatever, she said she supported Trump this go round because She believed that he could bring a lot of jobs back to, the flyover states. And, she believes in that. And so that's why she supported him. It may be just one reason, but that's why she supported him.
It is
Okay, gotcha.
that she's not black and white thinkers, and I think that's the problem. We've got to be able to measure what not only the person, but what they're saying, and try to determine where their heart is. As far as the real goals that they have, and you brought up the Supreme Court, the 5 and 4 thing. That shouldn't always be the case. There's many things that should be unanimous, when it comes to morality and the direction people need to go and that sort of thing. There's plenty to debate about and to have differences about, but I think there's good things that we can find in all people, and if we can just bounce these ideas back and forth, we can probably come to some better conclusions, better results.
Yes.
I like this quote. It says, "Your assumptions are your windows on the world. Scrub them off every once in a while, or the light won't come in." In other words, you have an opinion. Be willing to do what? Do some of this from time to time just to let some fresh air in. Because, at the end of the day, we've got this internal lexicon. We've got all kinds of thoughts. We've built story within our brains. And what happens is we want to measure everything according to what we have perceived to be true instead of being challenged every day. And it's difficult for me as a grandpa to see that this is what I want our grandchildren to do. I don't want Connor. I don't want Gavin or Rachel growing up thinking that, I don't need to hear what the teachers are saying or what the other students are saying. I've got my opinions, and I'm going to stay firm.
Right, that's how we grew up at early stages. That was
we grew
not
up with
good.
lots of confirmation bias. We were taught to be, what? Confirm your bias, son.
Yeah.
Daughter. Okay, yeah, we grew up like that, but we don't have to repeat those mistakes.
Right.
Is my point.
Right.
And so we are now living in a culture that does allow, a bit of transition, and this is why we're so proud of Diana.
Diana, why do you say Diana? Just ticks me off every time.
Okay, get ticked. The point being is,
Everybody wants to call me Diane. I don't know what's going on.
It's crazy.
Here.
I don't get it.
But Diana's
let's
very
call me
much-
Rond. I mean, I just don't get it.
Okay. But the transition to me is phenomenal. Simply because when I look at Paul's writings, I see this guy saying one thing one day, and then by the time that he gets into another epistle, he's saying something completely different. And some people can't handle that. They want you to be the same yesterday, today, and forever. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Some things in life, it's
some
good to
things,
be
right.
Steady Eddie,
Right, exactly.
We're just talking about.
A child needs that unconditional love and acceptance from their parent, same yesterday, today, and forever. That needs to be, just steady. But there are so many things that we need to transition in. Even mothers, even fathers need to be in transition, that is, with their understanding of love. Because I think that fathers, especially, can learn how to love deeper and more meaningful, that is, with their children. Because, in a sense, fathers have been disconnected from children. Would you agree with that? Mm-hmm. Because, they've been in the workplace. We want to say a lot about, women entering the workplace, but let's talk about men who have been in the workplace for a long, long time. They have been, in a sense, so disconnected from their children. And I see so many men who don't have warm relationships with their children, and that's sad. And so I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and I think that women probably could offer some expert advice in that situation. I think that men are foolish if they don't open up their ears to women, because women have experienced many things that we have yet to even see. And so if we can, give some ear, not just some voice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
I
not
like
bad,
that.
not bad.
Let's do a ode to old the Hitch.
The Hitch, go for it.
Okay, Christopher Hitchens. The essence of the independent mind lies not in what it thinks, but in how it thinks.
I like that.
That's perfect.
Isn't that
I
wonderful?
knew I liked Hitch for a reason.
Hitch is good.
Now we've had some disagreements. Well, I never knew him personally, but I mean we've been opposite sides of the issue more than once, especially in the Iraq War. But I would still have loved to be able to sit down over a scotch and just talk to the man,
Yes.
because he seemed to be very intelligent, very contemplative, and I think we're all the worse off for having lost him.
It was sad to see the video of his last, I think, appearance that I saw him in. He
With
was,
Dawkins.
yeah. It was heart wrenching. It really was.
But the guy was so passionate. I mean, and the thing that I liked about him, I mean, he knew how to throw another argument under the bus without disparaging the person. And so many people thought that he was going after the person. If you listen carefully to
Well,
how he parsed X, Y, and Z, this guy knew how to make the punch.
right. It was truly this versus that for him.
If he
It
would've-
wasn't us versus, well, to some extent.
I mean, if he would have been, let's say, one of the journalists covering this latest election, presidential election, I would have, sat there and listened, simply because we had no reporter out there who was reporting news, in my opinion. But a guy like Hitchens, he's not afraid. He's not trying to work for this corporation or that corporation. He was very much an independent thinker, which I admired greatly. A very brilliant guy, and he did not concede. That is, to the pressure of allowing the money to wag him left or right. He was a brilliant man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone way too soon.
Yeah. Died way too early. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We have a few minutes left, and this is kind of I don't even know if anybody would know this, but about Conor McGregor. Let's just throw that there. I mean, it's crazy.
Okay. Now,
Who's that?
Okay.
Oh, that's the thing.
Conor McGregor. He's the guy that fought
UFC.
Floyd Mayweather, and I'm a big fan of fights. Okay. That is in the professional sense. Now, this gentleman has, he has skills.
Well, tell her what UFC is. She may not even know.
Ultimate Fighting Championship.
They get it in like the
Yeah, we're talking
octagonal
about
ring, and they
right. We're talking about
It's like-
mixed martial artist. In other words,
it's barbaric anyway.
you can be trained in karate, you can be trained in jiu-jitsu, etc. And so you can use all the disciplines, okay? And so this guy who became a world champion in mixed martial arts, he took on a boxer, and this guy has, hand skills. He's not looking to defend himself, concerning the feet or, let's say, a takedown or whatever. And so this guy steps out of the arena that is McGregor to fight someone who only uses, the hands. And so this guy, he's what I think that his record right now is 50-0,
Yeah, I believe
something
so.
like that. And so he stepped in the ring with him, and it was a good fight, very good fight. I was surprised that he went that far. I didn't think that he would last the entire fight, but McGregor did. But McGregor actually, I think, and this may be very much like the World Wrestling.
Wrestling,
Well, I'm
as
simply
we say in
saying
the South.
Dana White, he's a master at putting fights together, and I'm not so sure that a lot of this wasn't fake.
Yeah, he's kind of like the old Don King.
Right.
Promoter.
Some people did get hurt, but when you sit there and listen to how people are reacting, it's not as if lots of people are in a lot of trouble. And this should be troubling, when he flies that is, McGregor flies from Ireland to the United States, that is, to New York. He brings 20 thugs with him to go into the arena, or where the bus was, actually, and they run in there and they start throwing objects at the bus. I think McGregor picked up a dolly, and he took the thing and threw it through the back glass, and it lacerated, I think, one fighter's eyes were cut. Both eyes were cut, and
Broken a knuckle on one
Right.
of them, which is a big thing
right,
for a fighter.
It's a big thing. But all of these people were on the bus, and we're talking about fighters and their trainers and all of that. But they remained on the bus because they felt like they were somewhat protected, and they did have security there. But they were overwhelmed with the amount of people that McGregor had brought in. And so, the question is, what's going to happen to the sport? What's going to happen to McGregor? And
Yeah. Was it fake? Was it for
Right.
ratings? Should we do that? Should we get somebody to throw a dolly at us while we're talking? I mean, what should we do?
Yeah, I lean toward it was planned, and some people got hurt. I don't think that it was something that he would do, but maybe I'm wrong. I'll wait for the facts.
I mean, if you can beat a man's face in the ground and just keep doing it and taking your knee and just keep on and on and on and on and on, you could probably throw a dolly at a bus.
But the guy that he really wanted to challenge wasn't even remotely, in the immediate.
Don't say it, Skip. Don't say it, Skip.
Oh, what is she doing? I mean,
say
she's
it,
doing
Skip.
what Shannon and Skip do. And I introduced her, what was it?
A couple
Friday
days
morning,
back.
Thursday morning to Shannon and Skip. They do a wonderful sports show in the morning. And boy, I tell you what.
Yeah,
it
they've got
is
some
powerful.
pizzazz. It's
Yeah.
really cool. It's a really cool sports show. Y'all look it up. Shannon and Skip.
Yeah. And Skip starts talking, and Shannon, boy, I tell you.
Yeah, he was
he's
like, "Don't
good.
say it, Skip."
Have you ever seen that, Daryl?
I think I had Eichmann and sport announcers.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reason we brought up Conor McGregor is we're just wondering what people will do for ratings, and if people think it's fake. It's definitely not fake when they get in the ring and pulverize each other's faces. That's so barbaric, honest to God.
it is. I mean, they really need to do something.
Like if somebody hurt one of my children or grandchildren, I could probably pulverize your face if I could, but I couldn't do it just to get in there and for money. I don't know.
But
No
you know,
way.
you have to look at it. These people are pushed to the nth degree, and the manner in which they are pushed, they will take risks that other people will not push, simply because of the training and all the things that they eat and perhaps take.
Oh, steroids and stuff like that.
And I'm simply saying that this is a major concern of mine, but we don't have enough time for that. I think we're completely out of time. But I want to read a quote by D.B. Sisko before we end our show. And this is great. He said, "The greatest lesson you can learn is the difference between having an open mind and having a hole in your head." That was authored by his dad.
Oh,
Go, Dad.
way to go.
Oh yeah, that's so good. Sometimes dads make the most powerful comments, and my father-in-law is one. I mean, he's always coming up with these remarks that need to be archived forever. And so,
Yeah, he says,
if I can ever,
show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
right? But if I can ever get him in the studio, so I can archive all of these brilliant things that he says, I think that we can have some lasting wisdom. Come on, Pop.
Might be a couple bleeps, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, it would be wonderful to have him. Well, let's end this program right now.
Okay.
We're going to have to get out of here.
We have to twist off, as
Twist off.
Daryl's brother would say.
Yeah,
Oh, we missed you, Curtis.
yeah. Love you, Curtis.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have him today, but it looks like he's not up to it.
I know. Well, we had to hear that
Yeah.
because we like seeing him for sure, and his friends there.
Tell him,
true.
y'all.
yeah, tell him we missed him.
All right.
All right, well, Reflections is next, and I believe Diana, do you feel like still being on the show today? We talked about last
I
week.
don't mind at all, if you don't mind having me.
No, I don't. And yeah, I thought we were going to talk about some of your transitioning, and I think that would just help a lot of people understand. But so Diana's going to hang in there, and then Daryl's coming back.
Right, and so we need you, the viewer, to stay tuned because we have a show coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes, and it will be much better than this show, okay? My wife is completely in control of it, so it's got to be great. Okay, love you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, see you next week.
Take care, folks.